How is it going, everyone? Welcome back. It has been a while since we've had an opportunity to really cook something up. Not a lot going on in the offseason. A little, Shamar Stewart action. Offseason slowly progressing, getting closer to preseason. But hey, Warren Sharp's been doing some work on the Joe Burrow front, and it's really gotten me thinking. It's really gotten me diving deep into the encyclopedia of football statistics, wondering, hey, is it a bias? Am I just being a biased Bengals fan saying, hey, Joe Burrow is the best quarterback in the league? Or are we starting to see more and more data kind of prove that that's not biased, it's true? And I gotta say, before we really jump into this, we're not trying to talk down on a Jalen Hurts or a Lamar Jackson or a Josh Allen or a Patrick Mahomes. Fantastic quarterbacks. Definitely elite, no question about it. Studs. Love to have them on the football team. But if you can only pick one, Patrick Mahomes has more than earned that top tier number one quarterback status for a long time. But hey, the number one man can be dethroned. They don't always stay the number one man. And you have to wonder, is Joe Burrow becoming that top dog in the NFL? We have now seen, we know the obvious. Joe Burrow leads the league in passing yards this season. He's got the best completion percentage since 2021, according to Pro Football Focus, amongst all quarterbacks. Stellar on paper numbers. What if we dive into the more advanced stuff? How about this one? Joe Burrow, over the last 4 seasons, has been blitzed the fewest amount of times amongst all quarterbacks in the league. And that's okay, whatever, that's cool, all right, so they don't blitz him. But the kicker to that is he also leads the league in amount of times that he has been hit under 2.5 seconds. 2.5 seconds or fewer seconds to throw the football is not a very long time to throw football. He leads the league in that category. The second guy on the list behind him was hit 25% fewer times than Joe Burrow. So it's Joe Burrow, major gap, number 2. No question about it. The offensive line has been terrible. Joe Burrow, of course, is not a Lamar Jackson. He is not a Jalen Hurts when it comes to the athletic abilities, but he can move. Joe Burrow has great pocket presence. He has the ability to move around the pocket and make plays. And I think, a lot of that talk has always been, well, Joe Burrow takes the sacks. It's not his, it's not Lamar's fault or Josh's fault. They don't take the sacks like Joe does. That's what it's. Well, the thing is, the 2.5 seconds is nothing, right? If that was the reason Joe was taking all these sacks, there'd be a lot more quarterbacks taking the sacks he does. So it kind of debunks that myth, if you will, that it is Joe Burrow's fault that he takes the sacks. But more importantly, let's talk about why that number is ever so important. Those numbers are ever so important. When you can get home hitting that quarterback at those rates, under 2.5 seconds, without blitzing the quarterback, first of all, those are some wild clips. But that means if you're a defensive coordinator, you say, hey, we can double Jamarr every single play. We can double T quite often. So yeah, Joe Burrow's got some elite weapons out there, but it's going to take some time for him to get open because we don't need to send pressure. We can afford to send home 4 every time. And guess what? There's going to be times that offensive line's doing really bad that game, and their tight end's got to stay back too, and he's going to have a late release. So it just makes it that much easier for a secondary. So to have a quarterback that has 2.5 seconds less or less time to throw the football, quickly processing, quickly analyzing, quickly getting rid of that football, and making good, smart decisions is very difficult in this league. More than likely, more times than not, he is going to have to get rid of that football and anticipate where his receiver is going to be. Anticipate he's going to get a little bit of a separation, and he has to be deadly accurate with that pass because, again, the separation just isn't there. The windows are tighter. Make a small mistake, incompletion. Small mistake, big result in an interception for the other team. And here's the thing. Now that we're talking about the wide receivers, we get a lot of talk about, hey, if Josh had the weapons Joe Burrow did, they'd be putting up gaudy numbers just like that too. And now here's the kicker. According to Pro Football Focus, when it comes to times targeted last season, 3 of the top 5 players that had 2 steps of separation when it was targeted in the league were Ravens and Bills players. Shakir, Bateman, Flowers. Now, if you go down the list of just in general separation created by players who had over 100 opportunities to create that separation on plays last season, you will see by a landslide, the Baltimore Ravens had the best wide receivers in the league as far as when the quarterback was throwing the football, how wide open it was, how much separation it had to complete the pass. Now, I get it. That doesn't necessarily just mean they're the best wide receivers. It just means, hey, when a quarterback was like, all right, I got to make a decision, I got 2 guys wide freaking open quite often. Makes the job a lot easier. Not saying it's an easy job, but it makes the job a lot easier. You have to scroll way down the list. Now, we're talking 77%. We're talking 70% for Bateman, for Flowers on the Ravens. You have to scroll way down the list to find Jamar Chase at 58%, to find T. Higgins at 55%. And again, that's the result of 2 things. One, they don't have to bring an extra blitzer to get pressure on the quarterback so they can step back and double cover guys. They're not getting that separation because they're just constantly blanketed. And number 2, separation can, of course, be a bit of an offensive line stat. The better your offensive line is, the more time the wide receiver has to get open. But the more time the wide receiver has to get open, the more time the quarterback has to throw a football. They coincide together, making it easier for the quarterback. So you can have all the names in the world, but if they're not open in that first 2.5 seconds, they're not open. You give them a little bit extra time, and all of a sudden they have a step or 2. It doesn't matter what the name on the back says if they're getting open because they have the time. Now, of course, in those contested situations, I'm sure you'd love to have Jamar Chase, T. Higgins flanking. There's no question about it. But again, credit Joe Burrow in a big way. I think when you talk about who is the best at a position, for me personally, I say, can player X go into situation Y and do the same thing player X did? Can Lamar Jackson go behind Joe Burrow's offensive line and do what Joe Burrow did? Can Josh Allen go into Joe Burrow's situation and do what Joe Burrow did? Would he put the same numbers up, or would he put better numbers up than he did in his current situation? And I would bet the house to say neither one of those could do that. Not with their play styles. Oh, and well, we dive a little bit deeper. Dive a little bit deeper into the internetverse. We can see quarterback passer ratings when pressured versus not pressured. Joe Burrow, by a landslide, leads the league in this category as well. You see he is seeing his quarterback rating just drop under 10 ticks when he is under pressure. Meanwhile, literally every great quarterback in the league sees their passer rating drop by 30 plus points. So yeah, you can make a pretty good bet that if you put Lamar Jackson behind Joe Burrow's offensive line, if you put Josh Allen behind Lamar Jackson's offensive line, or Joe Burrow's offensive line, they would see a substantial decline in their numbers, in their production, probably their win-loss. Considering those are 2 top 5 pass blocking units last season, going to the 32nd, that is the dead worst pass blocking unit last season, according to Pro Football Focus. So when you tie all that together, you look at those stats, some of these do not coincide. They're not supposed to. You're not supposed to have a quarterback have no time to throw the football, not being blitzed, and leading the league in passing yards. That the amount of times that has ever happened is extremely rare. So when you look at what Joe Burrow is doing, the way he is successful, what he is doing, of course, he's got excellent pocket presence. He knows when to step up, knows how to extend a play when he has to. Of course, he takes a sack on the 3rd and long because he's not going to just throw for 2 yards and not pick it up. Why not? I get it. But you have to be deadly accurate. And the thing I loved about his college film, I was just talking about the other, is like the thing that stuck out. A lot of college film, you watch, guys look fantastic. They look like stellar. They're wide open. They're making a wide open pass. It's like, it's college ball. 9 of the 12 teams you play aren't good. They're not good at all. Nowhere close to what you'll see in the NFL. Maybe your team playing a high school team with how overpowered those teams are, right? And they're always wide open. Of course, you can rack up 4,000 yards, a bunch of wide open guys. We see it year in and year out, the quarterbacks. Of course, these guys can run up and down the field, make plays with their legs. The speed of the game is just not as fast. Of course, they can try to throw the football in tighter windows that aren't as tight as the NFL and be a little less accurate, and nothing happens because it's college. They're just not as fast. The gaps don't close as much. But what stuck out about Joe Burrow in college was this man was dropping balls on the back shoulder in double coverage deep down the field in just beautiful locations where only his receiver could go up and make a play. And we are seeing that in full focus in the NFL today. Because when your receivers are in double coverage, as great as they are, you still have to make a perfect throw. Joe Burrow has had to be perfect, and he has been. And when he's not absolutely perfect, the Bengals don't win. I don't think you can say the same about any other quarterback in the league right now. Which makes you again say, hey, Joe Burrow the best quarterback in the league right now? Are we only saying Joe Burrow is the only... If we go down the list and we just checked off a whole lot of boxes, if we got on a list and say the only reason Joe Burrow is not the best quarterback in the league right now is because his team was 9-8 last season, are we really going to say because his offensive line, because his defensive line have been the worst in the NFL for years now, because the defense gave up 30 points a game, are we really going to say that's the reason when we write down why Joe Burrow is not the best quarterback in the league right now? Because I don't see any other one. You throw in the run blocking units awful also, 30th in the league. Teams know you're not going to run the football because you can't block. Chase Brown did do exceptional last season, but historically over the years, the Bengals have had no prayer at running the football. So teams, not only do they not have to blitz, they might as well not game plan for the run either. You game plan to stop Joe Burrow. You game plan to stop T. Higgins, Jamarr Chase. You see it year in and year out. They double cover, they bracket him. They don't have to bring a lot of pressure. And somehow, every team knows exactly what's going to happen. They still can't stop number 9. Meanwhile, you go a game plan against Buffalo. James Cook go up there and run 5 yards a pop anytime. Josh Allen can beat you. Josh Allen has the athleticism to beat you with those legs, and he's got enough time to throw the football to do that. Lamar Jackson, same story. You got the best running back of the generation behind you. You got wide receivers that are wide open when he's throwing the ball. Can you really compare that? I mean, if you want to dive down to Patrick Mahomes' situation, I think Patrick Mahomes is a prime example, though, of how important being able to throw under pressure is, and why I say Joe Burrow's in a league of his own. What just happened in the Super Bowl? Patrick Mahomes, for the second time now, has been embarrassed in the Super Bowl against a team that dominated his offensive line in the trenches and constantly put pressure in his face. That is how important and how significant that Joe Burrow passer rating is, that is best amongst all these quarterbacks when under pressure is. Because that is how the players perform when they are under pressure. That tells you exactly how important those players around you are, because if that offensive line is not performing to your standards, if those wide receivers aren't creating the separation you need, that pocket's going to collapse. Now, what's the decision making look like? Joe Burrow has been one of one under those circumstances. Nonetheless, of the thoughts. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.